No bankroll? No problem. Dude, this is so cringy, Jesus. You shouldn't let that hold you back, man. The dude that we are interviewing today went from a small bankroll to over $15,000 in profit in 3 months with a very tiny bankroll. Dude, I said bankroll like 50 times. Oh well. Today, he shares his story. What is up, guys? Welcome to another podcast. We have something really sick to share with all of you today. There's currently like a little live arbitrage wave going around with a lot of the bettors right now that there's something very it kind of feels like a little sort of mini gold rush with this new strategy and this new tool inside the OddsJam, like one bet thing, and we have a sick bettor that is taking full advantage of all of this. So we're gonna go over a little bit of his story, a little bit about his approach, and yeah, this man is killing right here, man. What's up, Green Screen Bets? How are you, brother?
Juan, how you doing? Good afternoon. Good to speak to you.
All good, man. Everything is sick. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hop on this call and share a little bit about your story and your process to us all.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah, I have a question. So I always ask this. I always like to get a little bit of like context before we go into the actual process. Like, so how did you get involved in the world of profitable EV betting? How did that all start?
yeah, so I mean, right off the bat, anyone that gets into sports, it's usually because they're a sports fan themselves or they played. I grew up playing all throughout, little league and high school. Went on to play in college a little, and then, sports has always been a part of my life. I've always been able to, find my passion in that. I always wanted to work in the industry. Just for clarification purposes, I am a recent college graduate. I'm in my early 20s. Trying to get into that industry was something that was very tough considering the current climate of how everything is. So, always just been like a casual sports bettor. I have friends tell me that I'm pretty risk adverse. So I was always trying to find, edges in the market, seeing what's good with all of that. And at some point, eventually, with OddsJam specifically, I had a buddy of mine, my friend Mark. Him and his father are one of the two most interesting people I've ever met with, doing sports betting. I used to talk to him all the time, and we would always, play all the promotions on sports books, once we turned of age, of course. And
Yeah.
so, obviously, if many people that are in the industry know this, but some people don't, but early on, some of the promos that were going on with these books were just insane. And we were just trying to maximize value wherever we could find it, especially with FanDuel. They had 1x casino bonus playthroughs, and they were offering deposit matches and, bet this, get that, like every single day in the last summer and all that. So we were just ripping through those. Eventually, sports books have tightened down along the lines and doing all that stuff. So eventually, once I finally stumbled across OddsJam, was because of my friend and his father. They got a free trial of OddsJam, noted how, there was arbitraging opportunities and bonus bet conversions. And I didn't think much of it at first. This was over the summer. Didn't think about it as much. I was still trying to find my own edges in the market. And then eventually at some point around September, it kind of came back to me. OddsJam did in full force. I eventually, took a week trial with the positive EV plan, mainly doing arbitrage. In the weeks leading up to before I got the free week trial, I was surfing the OddsJam website, and they would give out like 1 to 2 like free little arbitrages a day for a very menial return on investment.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, free week trial, see what they got going on in there. So
this is new. Like 3 or 4 months you started, basically you came in. So this is like you're like 3 months in. How has these 3 months gone for you?
So I officially started with OddsJam in about the middle of September. It's probably almost 3 months to this date,
Yeah.
maybe a day or two off. And, I've just been scaling very well ever since September. I did about 1,300. October, I did 2,500. Last month, I did 5,000. And this month, we're 11 or 12 days in. I'm at, I think, 4,300. I just had the best day I ever had yesterday. I
Nice.
did 1.3 yesterday alone. So I was super stoked about that. So I've just had a 100% increase month over month so far, which as we get up
That's
to those higher
insane.
numbers, I don't think it'll be sustainable. But a lot of it changed for me. A lot of it changed for me when they were running a sale. OddsJam was for the platinum plan, which includes the live arbitrage. Now, normally I would balk at the price for what it is, especially not knowing how much value is actually in it. But they ran a sale for the start of the NBA season for live arbitrage. I took a jump on it for a free week, having been in the arbitrage game for a month and a half or so at that point. I found immediate success with it. My return on investment doubled to tripled nightly from what I was doing pre-live. And then I was like, now I'm going to step into this role and completely, immerse myself into it. And in combination with my betting journey, I started the Twitter or X page that I have now, which is Green Screen Bets, right around the time I started OddsJam, because I realized that, if I'm making these bets and doing this stuff, I've seen other guys on, that platform posting. So I said, why not myself? So I've been able to help build a good following, and now
Yep.
I consistently work with individuals on helping them get started, because it is really a wonderful tool to use. And it's probably one of the easiest barriers of entry into anything that is money making that I've
Yeah.
ever found.
Yeah. Definitely. That's You're helping other people as well. And I think that's good that you started the Twitter account because there's like a battle. I feel like that we are fighting against the cappers and all the fake people that don't help people but actually scam them. And knowing that you are a part of the EV alliance, let's just put it like that. It's sick because that's the whole point of this podcast. That's the whole point of OddsJam, the content we're making is to kind of tell you, hey, like there's a way to do it. Here's another example of somebody else that in 3 months has compounded. You don't even need. He didn't even start with a massive bankroll, as you can see, and right now he's in December, 3 months later, halfway through the month, up over already almost 5 grand, and that is insane because where else can you even find that? Right? What do
Yeah,
you
no,
do? You ever think about
absolutely.
this? Like, where else is this possible? Right now, I think it's just in this space with these tools. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, as you noted, the positive EV community is a very solid one. My jurisdiction specifically, and what I've primarily advocated for is arbitrage and live arbitrage betting. That's in comparison to EV betting. Arbitrage betting is the most risk adverse type of betting you can do, considering that the general nature of it is, sports are a binary outcome in most cases. So it's one thing is going to happen, one thing is not going to happen. So if you could bet both sides at a spread, then you have a chance for immediate profit with no risk. And even as part of arbitrage betting, there are chances where there's enough discrepancies in the market where you can hit middles. And
Yeah.
essentially those entail is if you get over, total points on one game and you get under on the other, and the spread is, like a couple points, like if it's over 148 and a half, under 150 and a half, you can hit both bets theoretically if it lands between 149 and 150. So, either way, if that doesn't occur, then you can, make a profit. But if those two numbers hit, then you can hit both. And some people
Yeah.
think it's impossible to hit those, but I had my best day just yesterday by hitting two of those. So it's a lot. It's a lot to think about
What do you
when
tell
you
people
think about what do I
that are
tell people?
sorry to interrupt you right there. I'm sorry.
Of course.
The like because live arbitrage seems kind of scary, quote unquote, as far as like, hey, the lines move so fast. How do you even get catch those? Did you like when your first experience with that, like was did you was it like that? Was it as scary as it seemed or fast as it seemed? Or like now that you're pretty proficient with it, how is that? Should people not be scared of how fast the lines move? What do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, we are in the winter season now, and that's obviously prominent for basketball and college basketball and NFL too. So, when I first started was right at the beginning of the NBA season, and I think they say that betting basketball is probably the hardest form of arbitraging you can do, just because of the pace of play of the game and how quickly it moves and stuff like that. I've never live arbitraged baseball or anything like that, so I don't know. But I found that even in the scariest form of arbitrage betting, there are pretty much some tips and tricks and simplicities that exist that can help you maximize your opportunities there. Most people, when they watch line movements during these games, it's because they're watching the line movements as game is in play. And considering the nature of how basketball is and fast breaks and all that stuff, yes, total points and spreads are going to change quickly. So, part of my due diligence and, betting on these games is finding it very important to know when to bet. Now, the thing is there's so many arbitrage. There's so many bets that come out all the time. I mean, there's millions of bets. It sometimes gets overwhelming. So being able to just sit and focus, on a couple games or even just a specific league, and seeing where, those discrepancies are starting to pop up in different books that you may have available in your state.
Yeah.
The ideal time to, be able to place these bets is when the lines are least likely to move. And those times are dead balls, timeouts, half times, quarter changes if it's the NBA.
How do you track those with the ESPN app or something? Or how do you track when the balls are moving? Are you
Yeah,
looking at the actual what are you
good question. Good question. So a lot of people will ask, oh, how do I know when that's going to happen? Do I watch it on TV or do I see it on the ESPN app? The short answer is no, because both of those elements are on a delay relative to how the game's actually going on. So those will not be a good indication of when to do those things. Now, what it is, I primarily bet through some of the major sports books, and what they provide during their live betting is kind of a game tracker that shows, what's going on in the game and, even where the ball's moving and things like that. There are certain applications that'll tell you, if it's a dead ball or if, they're in a timeout. And that's usually the time you hit those. So if you go and look at some of the major apps that most people who are listening might have, DraftKings,
yeah.
and FanDuel. If you go to any live basketball game, they'll have a game tracker that'll indicate where, the game is going and if who's scoring, who's grabbing the rebounds, who's turning the ball over. And they'll clearly indicate if there's a timeout or if it's the end of the quarter. So usually if you're going to make a bet, you'll have seen it pop up on the OddsJam screen. You'll either get it right away or it'll move a little. And then I kind of just wait till the next dead ball opportunity, see if the line's there, and then I'll play accordingly. And also
Yeah.
part of that with live arbitrage that exists is because there's such great spreads on there, probably like, 3-4% return on investment minimum. The fact that those spreads are so large is that it kind of even helps combat against having lines change on you. So sometimes anytime I'll get like a line change on me, sometimes it'll just be for a lower return on investments. But if you're finding these spreads high enough, then it's kind of immune to any drastic changes, especially during dead balls, because nothing can happen really during that point that's going to sway the betting favors of sports books in that time.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems like you kind of got it all down in like how it's all flowing. I think looking at the actual sports book and it telling you the actual delay. No, I'm sorry, not the delay, but the where the ball is dead, timeouts and stuff like that is good. I was actually using the ESPN app, but and also like the books, and I did notice that the books do a pretty good job of telling you exactly how the game is developing. Especially because they will even like lock their lines and stuff like that sometimes. Whenever they have like timeouts, and then they'll open them again in and while there's still a timeout. From my experience, I don't know if you've seen that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're using basketball a lot as an example, but we have to realize that another big market that everyone loves right now is NFL, and not so much now college football because bowl games are coming up. But, like football is a relative to basketball is a bit of a slower game. So there's a bit more time in between each play. So there's more of a chance to kind of get opportunities in there if they exist. But yeah, to your point about using like the ESPN app versus the sports books, everything that you need, all the information that you need to know as quick as possible will show up on the sports books because they are the ones setting the line. So they know what happens and they will update quicker than what is a third party app in, making people know aware of what the game is. So
Okay.
it's definitely the
Have you
most important factor.
have you noticed any book being better than another book as far as like up to second like information? Or do you see them all like overall being like equal and what is actually happening in the game?
They're pretty relatively equal. I think,
Okay.
just to speak about the main books that most people have, like DraftKings and FanDuel, their UI that kind of shows the game pace and gameplay looks exactly the same. So they might be pulling the data from the same thing. That's speculation. I don't know, but there's not been, I don't have a plus EV play or a sharp on what book is the best for finding the live because, we don't even know
Yeah.
how quickly the lines update because I'm not at the actual game. But, I would be curious one day to, go to a game and kind of sit in there and see how quickly it does update relative to the scoring. So it's definitely a point of attention that I'd like to see. But for anyone that's looking to get into live arbitraging, especially, my strongest recommendation for getting started is knowing when to bet. And I don't like to bet during gameplay because the gameplay is why the lines move. It's what they do is going to affect that. So best chance at getting in things that you see are when nothing's happening. So
What
that's
would you
my rule.
what else would you tell brand new live arbors getting into this? Like beside just, wait for the timeouts. I mean for the ball to be not playing. Would you suggest sticking to specific like markets? Like just from the beginning? What would you tell these people?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, before I even recommend anyone getting into live arbing, I would have them be very well versed in what arbitrage is, why it occurs, and how to deal with it. And most people that I work with and tell them, I always get them started with pre-live arbitrage because
Yep.
nothing's going on. Those lines really don't move. I kind of want them to get a game sense for, how much to bet on this line and then that line and then why that occurs and all that stuff. So that once they translate into live arbitrage, it's the same premise, but it just has to be at a quicker pace. So especially when you're, betting your own money, you don't want to jump right into the fire with that. You want to have a game plan and a very acute understanding because look, I always thought about arbitrage, for as long as my betting career has been around, everyone at some point thinks, oh, why can't I just bet on both sides? Like, but I started with pre-live with OddsJam specifically for about a month or so before I was able to jump into live. And that's at a point when I realized, kind of the concept of things and all of that stuff.
How was it different before? Like before they had the one click bet thing. Have you noticed an insane difference or something changing in the market? Is the market faster now, or is slow, or is it the same? What about your speed? Is it obviously had probably has improved? That's the whole point. How yeah? Any contrast with with the before and after one click bet thing?
Yeah. So the one click bet tool that OddsJam has rolled out is definitely a game changer for a lot of people in the market. Um, for new users specifically, I feel that they might get a little miffed by the one click bet kind of ordeal because sometimes when those live bets pop up on OddsJam, the one click bet, let's say you'll see a line at, over 155 and a half, and then they go and click it and it brings them right to their sports book and places the bet into their bet slip. And then by that time, if that line popped up while the game was going on, the line might have moved a point or two. So some people just think that, oh, if I just click the bet, that's literally what it's going to be, the same odds and the same price that OddsJam showed me. And the thing is that's not always the case. It's not canon. And, that's why you have to check at it very importantly. But the reason that OddsJam works very well and why the one click bet is successful for people is that it will bring you to the game and to the market you should be eyeing up.
Yeah.
If I feel like at this point is when I would show you.
Yeah, we'll be layering right now over all of this. Like you probably are seeing right now as you're hearing this, like some live arb action from green screen.
Yeah. So at some point there's going to be, a game that comes on where there's multiple opportunities just because there's going to be arbitrages at like every different total point, area. So what I'll do is I'll go into it and then I will check both sides that I have up and see that, if it's not exact, then I'm going to kind of sit in it until the next dead ball. Or if it is exact because, the game just went to a timeout or went to the quarter change, I'll confirm that and then I'll place my bet accordingly. So, like I said, you'll see that in certain aspects, these games will just jump, quickly with all these bets all of a sudden. And they usually happen, for a multitude of reasons. Usually when the game just starts, lines are going to start to move, or it's towards the end of the game and it's getting close, or it's towards the end of a half, or, the underdog's on a big run and no one knows how to price, who's actionable and who's not. So the thing is, all these books are multi-billion-dollar companies, but the same people that program the algorithms about how to place these bets or how to, sharp these bets is same people, like us that are trying to sharp it as well.
Yeah.
We don't, especially live, you don't really know, what's going to happen. Right. If you're an underdog team in football and you come back, you were down, you're getting smoked all game, you're down 3 touchdowns. And then, in the fourth quarter, you score 3 touchdowns, you tie the game up and you're headed into overtime. It's like, who really is the favorite? Who do you have?
Yeah.
How do you price it? So it's these models, they can predict very sharply pre-live because they have that data and information, but live, the models are based off of, the models can't predict kind of like runs and emotions. Like they're only statistical and they're only math, which is why it works so well for them before games. But during games, you can't tell. They don't know how to price it. And that's why all these discrepancies exists in these different books, because, there's no really set idea, especially if you're betting, like a random, mid Division I level college basketball game. How are you going to accurately determine how many points are scored in the first half, 12 minutes into the game? It's just, you can't. So that's why I think there are spreads that exist here.
Yeah. Yeah. We get like another like 7 or 8 minutes in the call. I think think it's more than enough to kind of give this a closure. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So I really think that the best way to build an initial bankroll, if you have a small bankroll, is the way that Green Screen did it. As you can see, like probably started with like $500 or so in your first month. I'm not sure, but something I'm guessing something small because you made like 1K, right?
Yeah. So what I'll say is it depends where you live, but I am out of New Jersey. It's one of the most liberating states in the country for sports betting. We have about 20 different sports books that all offer sign up bonuses.
Yeah.
So depending on where you live, maximize your sign up bonuses to the max. Any free bets you get, you can use the OddsJam bonus bet converter to maximize your profit potential. And then, even from there, you can that's your bankroll. Whatever you have to put aside, whatever you can make from these sports books that you don't already have, you can set aside. You just put it all into there. And just like you would with stocks and dividends, you reinvest your earnings back into it. And, that's how compounding works. And that's essentially what I did. The profits I made went back into what I made my bankroll, able to scale my unit sizes. And that's why I've been able to, double my profits month over month is because of scalability concerns.
Nice. Well, I hope that that lasts as long as it can. Any plans on maybe down the road when you're not can be able to make 20K, 30K back to back from live arbing? Any plans there? Like might go to EV betting and just hit the side with the leg with more EV, or have you thought about the future?
Yeah, and that's an important thing for people to know. I know some of our people in the community love to glorify this as the infinite money glitch. And for a point in period of time, it really is. But
Yeah.
you have to be smart about it. Number one is why I'm keeping under the condition of anonymity. But number two is, this is honestly quick, fast money. And
No.
you can play it accordingly and build yourself a nice little profit margin doing this and staying consistent
Yeah.
and learning a lot about the market. So yeah, I have thought about the future, and that's kind of why I started like the Twitter account too, is because you know, especially for someone like Alex, who's the founder of OddsJam, he always talks about how he made his first 40,000, I think, arbitrage betting, and he's shared that he's made over $1 million sports betting and all that stuff, and then eventually he got limited at most places, but that's quite a hefty chunk of change to make before it all like comes down. And
Yeah.
he also notes that even though he has like certain limits on most books, he can still get down decent action on there and still make decent amount of money. So yeah, I don't think I'll be able to arbitrage at 30% ROI forever and be able to bet 10 grand on everything. We all wish we could do that, but it's just about playing the game as long as you're available to. And
Yeah.
then once you're comfortable enough in the market, transitioning over and, just being more of a sharp better, because at that point you'll have all of the knowledge and information you'll need.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing to do is, be aware from the beginning that you're not going to be able to do this for years. A good couple month run is a solid run, unless you're just a massively losing better from the past and your books are just flagged as like, they've taken a lot of money from you, then you will last a long time. But I think this is the best way to build like a very hefty, big enough bankroll so that every day after you just do, traditional sharp betting with the EV page, you could get down 10, 20K a day, with your limits and still continue this because there's people that do it. And I've interviewed people that don't even do any arbitrage bet and they stick to just normal EV betting and they're putting down 10, 15K a day with limits and making a good amount of money. So I think the best route is that like a roadmap for a beginner is start sign up bonuses and maximize it all, arbitrage, build a big bankroll, and then EV bet, and then you'll be off to the races. I think that's something smart to think about. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to go about it. Because arbitrage, and most people that come in from betting, they're not profitable bettors because they bet with their gut and they don't understand it. I mean, arbitrage is the most risk adverse form of betting. It's the most guaranteed form of betting. And, you can see results in that, as I've as I've been able to show, and as other people in the community have been able to show. So, it's very much an important process to get involved with. And, you know, everyone has a glass ceiling that they can break through. And then, there's always implied value of, when it's not going to be as great anymore. But at that point, you should have, been able to, make your money's worth. And, that's just what we're all trying to do, is be profitable as we can, until we can't, because that's just the name of the game.
That's it. Yeah, we got about like another minute and a half or so here. Guess we can kind of finalize it with like, so any words from your friends and family that you're doing this? Do they know that you're profitable, or they're like, are you gambling? What are you doing? You tell any
Yes.
friends to get into this?
Yeah. So I do have a group chat of friends that, started getting interested once, I actually just got a text message from a friend today. I posted my 1.3K day yesterday, and
Sick.
he said he said something along the lines of almost making my paycheck in a day is crazy. So, it's nice to see messages like that. And the most important thing is I want to help them, because I've been able to do this. So I know other people can too. And that's the great thing about this, is I'm not shilling, some BS to anyone. I'm not selling, a drop shipping course or anything. I'm just telling them that there's a program that they could just use to bet, because they're already not profitable bettors, and this is a way that they can be. And then, if you win, you get more enjoyment. So I believe it's just a positive investment for everybody.
Well, props to you, man, and I appreciate, you being a part of this side of the team of actually helping people and, becoming profitable, sharing it, because, the books have, I think they're just evil in the sense of they don't play it fairly. Some do, but most don't. And this is just like, hey, we're gonna take our money as well, because you take it from a lot of people. We're gonna take a little bit from you. So think we got like 20 more seconds here. Any last words? Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for listening. I'll drop his Twitter or X account there so you could connect with Green Screen Bets, and see you guys in the next episode.
Like, you want to have a great